On this episode of Locked On Angels, there's one major reason why we don't miss Estévez and Garcia in the bullpen. We're going to share that with you. And who tried to trade for Logan O'Hoppe and failed miserably. And speaking of failing, the Angels last night decided not to show up offensively at all. And we've got some reasons why. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, it is. And yes, we are. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use that code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John. And John, I love that you got up. For those on the audio side didn't see it, you got up, you left the screen, and then you came back again. Kind of like the Angels last night. They decided to show up, haphazardly.
Disappear and show up at the end when Calhoun hit a home run.
Yes.
I got a bit for later, and I forgot my bit prop, so don't worry.
I like bits.
Yeah, bits, bloops, all that stuff.
And blunders.
Yes. I couldn't think of a third. It's our third season here at Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday. You can always count on us to be there for you through thick and thin, everybody. On today's show, do we miss Carlos Estévez and Luis Garcia out of the bullpen? Mike says no. We have a good answer. I think pretty good answer. Did you hear about the potential trade of Logan O'Hoppe? We've got the details on that. But Mike, we've got to recap last night's game. The Angels fell 6-1. Felt like a repeat of Monday night's game, right?
Yeah. Carson Fulmer on the mound, and he pitched like he has pitched. He's just kind of filling in right now and kind of figuring out, kind of feeling his way through the first few innings. He started this one, got in trouble in the top of the first. The Jays scored 3 runs, capped off by that legend angel killer, Will Wagner, who's come out of nowhere, right? 2-run double kind of capped off that 3-run inning. He picked the perfect team to debut against. You're welcome. Jays led 3-0 after the first. Johnny, the Halos had some real good chances in this game. One in the bottom of the second inning, bases loaded, 1 out, Joe Adell's up. He swings at the first pitch and he grounds into a double play. And stop me if you've heard this before, but this came after 2 walks in the inning. The previous batter walked, and his lack of patience, in my opinion, ruined this opportunity. John, why are we swinging? I almost said you didn't swing. Why are we swinging?
Well, you might as well put it on me because I'm a staunch Joe Adell defender, but I tweeted during that moment, I said, Joe, swinging at pitch 1 when you have the pitcher on the ropes, that is not the business. And have we not learned this lesson yet? Now, granted, later on in the game, taking more pitches against Kevin Gausman, but Mike, with 1 out and a pitcher on the ropes with a bases loaded situation, and that splitter that Gausman had working wasn't even really getting called at the bottom of the zone. A few times it did, a few times it didn't. That umpire behind the plate was just not great last night. We'll talk about what happened with George Springer, but the thing is that Joe Adell should not be swinging at pitch 1 in that situation. I'm sure he got a talking to after that. So, yeah, just a squandered opportunity there to even do anything. And again, the Angels behind the 8 ball, playing behind the 8 ball, playing with a deficit like they've been doing. And it all goes back to the starting rotation, Mike. We've got 2 major league starters in this rotation, Tyler Anderson and Griffin Canning, and Griffin Canning's suspect, but he's technically the only major league starter who's part of this rotation. Oh, sorry, Jose Soriano, of course, Soriano. Yeah. But there's just giant gaps, and so perhaps we'll see Kohanowitz get chances the rest of the way, but this is why the Angels continue to struggle, and it doesn't help that they can't put any offense on the board, and this has been a theme through, the Washington series where They had multiple chances with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they put it together on Sunday. That's because they walked. They took a ton of walks in that game.
Yeah.
And so, if Gossman's not able to hit the zone with that splitter, I mean, there were 2 walks in the inning and Jo Adell came up in that situation. The worst possible scenario was grounding into a double play, and that's what happened in that situation.
Right. And you would think that, and I don't know if it happened because I wasn't there. I didn't hear any conversation about it. But you would think that one of the coaches just whispers in his ear, Joe, I'm going to need you to take that first pitch. I'm just going to need you to, like, struggle in. I'm going to need you to wait and then make him work to get the ball in the zone. And if we're in August and they're saying, well, these guys should already know that, they've proven that they're not going to put that into practice unless you remind them.
Right.
And they're going to do it today, right? They're going to do it against the Blue Jays today. They'll be patient and then they'll end up getting a win. I mean, that's what happens with this team. And so super frustrating to watch that immature baseball, the immaturity of approach at the plate, right? It's like you have had so many chances, and there's this conversation that Wash has been having. Hey, spring training of 25, you're going to see a different team. And I'm going to agree with him, but the problem is like, but why isn't it happening in August of 24? Why are we still having this conversation? You and I, baseball podcast nerds, and all of our everydayers who are not as nerdy as we are, everybody shouted at us yesterday when that happened. They were like, Jo Adell's first pitch, Halo Brothers are spot on again, right?
Yeah, exactly. So unfortunate situation, especially because the Jays add a couple more runs in that third inning. Vlad Guerrero Jr. hits a home run off Fulmer. Spencer Horwitz follows that up with a solo homer. So the Angels had another chance, Mike.
Yep.
In the third inning, a Schanuel single, Neto singles. Nolan tries to go to third and was thrown out trying to get back to second. He slips and falls.
Yeah.
Like, how many Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny moments are we going to have with Nolan Schanuel out there? Like, somebody get him some different cleats. Like, what? What are we doing? Like, can we get Mike Trout to teach Nolan Schanuel how to run the bases because he cuts the corners so well? No, we don't want a torn meniscus from Schanuel. So why does this always happen with Nolan Schanuel? I'm frustrated because, again, they're stringing some hits together and some silly mistake seems to happen every time they're out there.
It seems like he was maybe anticipating trying to get to third base, and
then go for it. Like, that's the thing is
don't stop.
You could have gone. You could have gone, and you probably would have gotten thrown out. But you got to you made the decision, bro. You have to run for third base. You got to slide. You got to make it count, and you can't change your mind halfway down the baseline.
Right, and it's that you just hit the nail on the head. It's decision making a decision and sticking to it, even if it was a bad decision. Right, like that play a few games ago when Jo Adell comes running around. They send him home. He probably shouldn't have been sent, but he went. I love that Joe was like, yeah, man, we're going to be aggressive. And I went for it. And EY sent me. And so we went for it. In this situation, like he stopped and started and slipped and fell. And it's happened way too much, which tells me, I don't think that that's necessarily like him just slipping in his cleats. It tells me it's a mental issue. He's deciding and stopping, and then I got to do this, and then I got to go back, and then I got to, right? And it's like, you just got to make one decision. That's why Trout, John, is such a good base runner, because he makes one decision. He knows what he's going to do. And if he's sliding into third and the ball's waiting for him, sucks. But that's what happened, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Carson Fulmer only lasted 3 innings in this one, 5 hits, 5 earnings. Kenny Rosenberg came in, long relief. He got called up as Davis Daniel was sent back down to AAA and pitched well, Mike. I mean, he did give up a run there later on, but the only offense in terms of runs scored was Willie Calhoun hitting a pretty big solo shot to right center. But it was another lifeless game for the Angels, and it only adds to the narrative that they struggle against bad teams. Logan O'Hoppe is 0 for his last 27, and he's going through a slump. Get him out of the third spot, please. It's just, it is like, I know we can talk about, well, it's not really the third spot. It is. It's a mentality. It's a mentality. And if it's taking you 27 plate appearances, or at bats, I should say, to recognize that, hey, you know what? Maybe he's not cut out for the third spot right now. Maybe he's pressing. Maybe he's trying too hard, because that's what I see. That's what I see up there, is a guy trying way too hard, being way too over aggressive. And God bless Logan O'Hoppe. I love the guy,
Mm-hmm.
but this is Wash. This is your own doing, Wash. Right. I'm saying Wash because for 6 months, Mike, we said maybe these guys aren't ready to hit in the 3-hole or the 2-hole or the cleanup spot, and we gave it a shot. And what a wonderful shot it was until it wasn't. And so let's move Logan O'Hoppe back down to 5, back down to 6. Put Taylor Ward back there because he's the only bat that seems to work in the 3 spot. Neto's doing great out of the 2-hole, 3 for 4, and he's doing a great job. So goes to show that some guys thrive, some guys don't thrive. Right. Neto's ready for the 2 spot. Logan O'Hoppe is not ready for the 3 spot.
No, he's not. And I think that's pretty clear. And this is the situation that
I'm going to need about 50 ABs before we move low. Let's just roll to the end of the season.
Yeah, I just think that this is the situation that we're in. We're in a situation where there are opportunities that you give these guys and you say, hey, we want you to do this. We want you to fill this role. But also, if you see someone drowning, you don't yell at them and go, paddle harder.
You say did you say drowning?
Yeah. Is that a bad analogy?
You mean drowning?
Oh, shut your mouth. Okay, so
it's like when your wife says thinking.
Yeah, that's right. But he's struggling, John. He's struggling.
Yeah. Like he's struggling.
Give him an opportunity to move to a different spot for one game, right? Like this just feels like you're trying to prove a point now.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
That I don't know why that got me right in the chest when you said that.
Are you drowning?
I'm drowning, Mike. I'm struggling.
I hate you.
Listen, I tweeted out. I said, there's a certain somebody who could help this struggling, middling Angels offense.
Yeah.
Call him up August 16th. Why not?
Right.
And somebody said, that's right. Jake Marisnik is who we're talking about. Somebody on Twitter said, there's no solution for this pathetic team. And I said, no, we're not looking for solutions on August 14th.
Right.
Wednesday. We're letting these guys go through the motions. And look, we said it before the trade deadline. This is what the season is going to look like the rest of the way. We're going to see some guys thrive. We're going to see some guys struggle. Probably not a lot of wins on the way because of what we're going to talk about in our next segment, which is, do we miss Carlos Estévez and Luis Garcia? We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are back at it for the series finale against the Blue Jays, 6:38 Pacific time.
They're going to let it back in the stadium? Okay, good.
Well, they're going to show up and then disappear. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM and the SXM app. All you got to do is search Angels. And again, coming up, we're talking about, do we miss Estévez and Garcia? Well, our answer is no. And we're going to tell you why in just a minute.
Johnny, that lifeless Angel team last night looked like they were a bit dehydrated, needed some electrolytes, needed some vitamins, maybe some clinically tested nutrients. What they needed was the #1 hydration brand in America, Liquid IV. It's perfect for a workout. It's perfect for hot days. It's perfect for long hours. It's perfect when you go 0 for 27. Give it to Logan O'Hoppe. He needs some hydration. He needs to stay hydrated because a run down Angels isn't good for anyone, including us everydayers. John, did you know that 1 stick of Liquid IV and 16 ounces of water, it hydrates better than water alone, provides 3 times the electrolytes than the leading sports drinks, plus 8 vitamins and nutrients, all in a single stick. And it tastes great too. Always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free. No more dehydration for our everydayers with Liquid IV. And you can get 20% off your first order when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code MLB at checkout. Tear, pour, live more, Liquid IV.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. We keep this up. There's going to be 6 million members because of our everydayers. It's the most fun, exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports, your favorite players. Get in on all the excitement. Went up to 100 times your cash with Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup of players across basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, so much more in as little as 60 seconds. And all you got to do is pick more, pick less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. So download the app today, enter our code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, first deposit match up to $100 for those who are joining Prize Picks for the first time. This Saturday, Prize Picks is giving you a free pick. Israel Adesanya, did I say that right? Adesanya.
Yep.
If he gets more than 0.5 significant strikes in his title fight at UFC 305, it's free money.
He will.
Take the over on that one. Pick more on that one.
He will.
Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, and you're listening to Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. Now, thanks for making us your first listen. A second listen would be Locked On MLB. Our friend Sully is going to get you ready, get you through the dog days of summer, prepare you for the playoffs. Check out Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And the Angels are going to be allowed to play today at 6:38 Pacific time against the Blue Jays, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Mike, the other day we were asked by everydayer Gregory Antonio if the bullpen was, or if we as fans were missing Carlos Estévez and Luis Garcia, and it came right after the bullpen struggled against the Nationals. Now, Gregory Antonio, great commenter, great everydayer.
Yeah.
I think he asked it a little facetiously, but we wanted to give a response because it actually brought up a good conversation. The answer to that question should be your answer, and that answer is no.
Right.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Those wins in any game from here on out, meaningless in the big picture. Moving to 10 games under 500 instead of falling to 12 games under 500, it doesn't matter right now.
Right.
And I know you didn't have this in our rundown here, but come on, give me a better standing in the draft lottery as the Angels continue to plummet.
Sure.
They're not going to end up with as good odds as like the White Sox, but the last I checked, they had like a 14.5% chance of getting the #1 pick.
Wow.
And everybody wants Ethan Holiday, Jackson Holiday's younger brother, who could come in and help this infield in the future. And I think that's part of it too. At this point, there's no difference in being 12 games under 500 or 10 games under 500 because you won a couple against the Nationals.
Yeah.
Look, you said it the other day. If the Angels had won those series against teams under 500, their standing position looks a little bit different, right?
Yep.
They're 2 games under 500. They might actually be somewhat close in this AL West race. And maybe you did hold on to Garcia and Estévez because you thought, hey, we got a pretty good chance. But they didn't do it.
Right.
They didn't do it. And they didn't do it with Estévez and Garcia on the team either. So off the team doesn't make a difference. So that's why those things don't really matter right now.
Yeah, here's what matters. Experience. Ben Joyce figuring out how to throw, what to throw in those late innings. Joyce working on how to approach those innings, knowing how to handle his emotions in those innings, discovering how he can handle pitchers and work with his battery mate in those innings. I want Ben Joyce discovering that, and you can't recreate that, John. You can't create that in an environment on a side field. And here's the reality. We have to wrestle with this. Do we want stat filling or do we want youth development? And I'm going to choose youth development every single time. We talk about the lack of development in the minor leagues with this organization pretty often. And I think that there's some good points there, but there's also some really terrible takes on that. We'll discuss that tomorrow. But I really think that what we want is these guys developing. And so I think the best place for them to develop is at the major league level. And 2, we can't get mad when they're developing, right? Like we can't go, oh, come on, how come he didn't come through? Well, he's working on it. And that's what we have in this second half. And so when we call this a trash team or nobody's here, or there's no help, nobody going to save this team, right? We're not looking for that. What we're looking for is a potential future piece that can help this team to move forward. And again, you can't create these environments in practice. You can't create these environments at spring training. You can only have these environments happen in the actual environment in the 9th inning. I want Ben Joyce to figure out what he can do, what he needs to do. I need him to have a bit more swing and miss on his fastball. I need him to throw that splinker. I need him to know that he's got to come through in this moment with that runner at third and that runner at second. He needs to do that because he's the future back end of this bullpen. And so he's somebody that he's shown that he's going to adjust. He's going to pivot. He's going to learn what he needs to do. We saw that when he got sent down this season and then brought back up, had a great stretch where didn't give up runs, was really dominant. I want that Ben Joyce to continue to develop at the major league level, which is why I don't care that those guys were traded away. Plus, we got really good pieces.
Yeah.
For those guys, 6 good minor leaguers, 2 really strong minor leaguers. And so I love this. So Johnny, if the players aren't going to develop the way that we would hope in the minor leagues, doesn't it make sense to have them in the major leagues and get them around Barry Enright and get them around Ron Washington?
Him too.
Right. Exactly. I mean, somebody even made a comment about like Christian Moore. Like you hear about his offense, but you don't hear about his defense. Well, for one, his offense is so incredible. It's why you don't hear about his defense.
Sure.
But 2, if you don't think he has great defense, who's the guy on this Angels team in this organization that is the defensive guru? Oh, the manager. Get him around Ron Washington, right? So doesn't it make sense to bring them up to the major league level?
I want to see what Ben Joyce does when he goes on a stretch of 23 innings pitched, no earned runs, few hits. I want to see how he handles the adversity of coming out against the Nationals and getting walked off. Now, the other day when we talked about it, it was a extra inning situation, right? So perhaps there was an opportunity for him to give up a base hit and still get out of the jam. But it was the 10th inning, and I want to see how he adjusts to that. I want to see how he grows from that, because you're not always going to have stretches of 23 scoreless innings in the majors. And he's got to understand that. It was great, and we loved it, and he certainly deserved it, and he certainly earned it. But I want to see how he handles that adversity when things don't go his way. And I want to see the adjustments that he makes in that situation. I want to see how he handles the fact that, hey, you stopped being perfect, dude. I'm sorry, but that's not the way this game goes. And you're right. What better way than to get these guys up and around the big league club? Look, Mike, I have been an advocate for keeping Caden Dana down in the minors to let him develop. And we've got a good conversation coming up on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But to give him a look, to give him a chance to start at the major league level is not going to ruin his development. It's not going to ruin who he is in the future. But it depends on how you use him from that point on. Do you put him in your rotation for 25? That's not something I would like to see to at least start the season. But to give guys a look, like Christian Moore or Caden Dana or whoever else they want to bring up, maybe some of the guys they got in the pieces for these trades, I think that you have a good opportunity to see what you have and piece together something that looks promising in the future.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Ibotta. It's a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies and so much more. The average user earns $256 per year. Could cover an average shopping trip. It could cover a flight maybe, or you're going to a game or a fancy dinner. Other apps just give you points that don't add up to much. But with Ibotta, you just add your offers in the app, you upload your receipt, and you get real cash that you can have downloaded into your bank account or on a PayPal account or maybe even on a gift card. Join over 50 million savers and earn cash back every time you shop from over 2,700 brands and retailers. And right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying the app out. So get $5 from Ibotta by using our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Download it in the App Store, Google Play Store. Again, it's free, and it's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your car, your truck, or your SUV alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, so much more. Speed, power, style, whatever you're into, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your vehicle, you're always going to find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, you can turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Speaking of MVP, it's got to be Shohei Ohtani in the NL, right? And he's just hitting. And I'm sure that he would want you to keep your car, truck, or SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Johnny, right before the trade deadline, Jeff Fletcher gave us a chuckle. He's part of the OC Register, and on Twitter, he retweeted somebody's comment that said, okay, throwing it out there, the Angels trade Logan O'Hoppe. And he said, I'm just retweeting this because I want to see the replies. And I loved that because the Angels aren't trading Logan O'Hoppe, right? Nobody's going after Logan O'Hoppe. They're going to keep him. Sure. And then we get a report that the Cubs actually pursued Logan O'Hoppe ahead of the trade deadline. The word was that the Cubs front office had multiple discussions with the Angels front office, but was, and this is in quotes, repeatedly and firmly rebuffed. Like they said, absolutely not, right?
It's the only way you rebuff in this world. Repeatedly and firmly rebuffed.
Firmly rebuffed. Now, O'Hoppe is not a piece that you're going to trade. He is a rebuilding piece. He's a
centerpiece,
piece
Michael.
That's going to help you to move forward, right? He's going to be one of the faces, if not the face of the franchise. So trading him away would be silly and ridiculous, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. He's him and Neto are the centerpieces of this future. And I would even, pop Nolan Schanuel in there.
He's got to stay on his feet.
Yeah. Stop slipping and falling.
Yeah.
I would even put Joe Adell in there, Jose Soriano. These are the guys you build outward from, right? These are your core, build outward, make sure that these guys are in every roster, in every lineup or every rotation, whatever the case may be. And then you add strategically around them. And you even have guys in the minor leagues that you can bring up. And obviously I think Christian Moore is going to be part of that Christian core, right? There you go. I think he's going to be part of that core as well in the future. Now, what's funny to me is the reaction to the trade.
Oh, put your Cubs hat on. Okay.
Cubs fans.
Okay.
Which was, mostly on Twitter or even like in the article from MLB Trade Rumors. Cubs fans reacting to this rumor was pretty funny. It was the overall action was like, oh, he'd be a nice piece. Oh, he'd be he'd be a solid guy. Yeah. I think, it's worth taking a risk on. In what world
risk
is Logan O'Hoppe a risk?
Yeah.
Get this thing off my head. This is ridiculous. In what world is Logan O'Hoppe just a dude?
Yeah.
And this is not us overvaluing Logan O'Hoppe or overvaluing players that the Angels have, because that conversation came up a lot during the trade deadline is
right.
Angel fans think they have all this stuff that they can give away. Well, the truth is, and we broke it down on a previous show, that there were a lot of trades out there that just made more sense if it had involved an Angels player.
Right.
And I look at Kevin Pillar, Kevin Kiermaier, Tyler Anderson, Alex Cobb, right? Like there were trades out there that made a lot more sense. Now, whether they were going to get back what they wanted or if they wanted to move those guys, totally different conversation. But the point is, the Angels had pieces. And obviously they did with Estévez and Garcia. But to call Logan O'Hoppe just a guy or, oh yeah, he could be good. I mean, it was really funny to see the reaction from non-Angel fans and in particular Cubs fans. And I like the Cubs, right?
Yes.
I went to Wrigley. That's where I got this hat. I got a Seiya Suzuki shirt because his favorite player is Mike Trout and wears 27. I like the Cubs. I think they're an inoffensive team. They are not offensive to me as an Angel fan, right? And when we play them, I root for the Angels, of course. But as a baseball fan, sure, I like the Cubs. But I had a good laugh, when the Cubs fans reacted to that trade. But what does that reaction tell you about our players and the overall perception of our players outside of Angel fandom? And I would include Zach Neto in this one. I would include somebody like Jose Soriano, right? I wonder if fans of other teams are starting to catch on to who we have, or in the case of Logan O'Hoppe, they don't recognize it and they think, oh, just another pathetic Angel season with a pathetic team on this pathetic franchise. What do you say, Michael?
I think that's the perception, that's the perspective that people have, that this is a pathetic franchise, that nobody wants to come here, right? And we have people that are within the organization that have said to us privately, like, yeah, nobody wants to come here and those types of things. But then you hear a different narrative from the people that are in the inner workings of that are making the trades, or that are agents, or that are some players, and that people are actually excited to come here. And I know that the overall view of the Angels is not positive. You and I have hold the position of, man, somebody could really come into this organization and change the trajectory of it with just a few minor clicks. It's not going to take an overhaul. It's literally a few minor clicks that can really change the face and the projection of this franchise. I think that outside of Angel fandom, the perspective is that the Angels are just trash. They're just at the bottom of the garbage heap, and they've earned that, John. Quite frankly, they've earned that.
This is not a defense of the Angels in and of itself.
Yeah,
it's a recognition of, you can look at take the Blue Jays for example. I'm going to pay attention to Willie Wagner because he's tearing it up right now. I look at the Nationals, Mike. I was sitting on waiting for James Wood to be called up on my fantasy team, even though the Nationals have not been great. But I recognize that, they got Will Wagner on the Blue Jays. They got James Wood on the Nationals. These teams could have some good things going for them
future pieces
in a couple of years.
Yep.
And that's the thing about being a fan of other teams and being an Angel fan. It's not that we want all this attention. It's a matter of recognize when you have good people on a team.
And I think what happens with the Angels is that narrative will change as these players continue to do what they're doing this season. Zach Neto is going to be somebody that you can't ignore for too much longer, right? Logan O'Hoppe, I think, is going to be somebody that you can't ignore for too much longer. And it's going to be that way, but it's going to take some time. Here's the benefit of being an everydayer, which is what I love about being an everydayer, you and I, and of course, all of our everydayers, is that we're watching this in real time. So we can kind of go, no, you're not just getting a good piece with Logan O'Hoppe. You're getting a franchise guy, right? Which is great. And we recognize that because we're watching every at bat. We're suffering through the 0 for 20, right? And we're seeing that he's developing and we're seeing him grow, and we're calling for Wash to make a decision and to move him out of that third hole so he's not drowning anymore, right?
Putting my Cubs hat back on, maybe O'Hoppe could be maybe one top 30 guy and a reliever that we have in the minor leagues. That's what the reaction was.
Listen, you win one World Series in 650 years, and all of a sudden you're experts at baseball.
Wait, that's also us too, by the way. Oops.
Every time you point the finger, there's what, 4 back? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Well, 3. Back to you. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast show with our friend Sully. It's on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
All right, if you dare, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We always release our new episodes there. Links to the show on podcast platforms on YouTube. We would love to have you come over to the YouTube show today. Get in the comments section, hit that like button and subscribe button. It really helps out Mike and I a lot if you do that. We would love to interact with you in the comments section. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
John, there's one reason why the Angels should extend Perry Minasian. It's something that he has done that Billy Epler didn't do, Jerry Dipoto didn't do, and then everybody previous, Bill Stoneman did it, but who's the guy? Tony Regan's in between. He didn't do anything. And so Perry Minasian has done one thing that all the previous GMs before him have not done, and this is why they should extend him. And so we're going to share that one reason tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys will return for that and show up, unlike Unlike Tony Regan's at the 2011 winter meetings, right? Is that when that happened? Yep. Where is everybody? All right, friends, thanks for being here. Until tomorrow's show, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, y'all. We truly do hope that you come back and join us tomorrow. Until then, we'll see you back here on Thursday.
He showed up late. I remember that. What are you doing?
Trade's over? What?
Vernon Wells. Where's Vernon Wells?